Got your hand on my back, but I'm not the one. You've been dreaming of. Got your taste on my lips, but you're not the one. I've been thinking of. We walked to the beach that night. Sand felt soft beneath my bare feet. And your nerves, were as clear as the moon that night. Just happy to feel how selfish of me. She's happy to feel. She's happy to feel anything at all. It's the waves. It's the waves. You only call me when you're down. You only call me. Oh, I'm gonna start this over. I'm not gonna use the drums, they were too slow. You only call me when you're down. You only call me when you're down. You only call me when you're down. Fuck, I was gonna do a Bush cover, it didn't work.
No dice?
No dice. Hold on. You only call me when you're down. Yeah, fuck it. I practiced that Bush cover so well, too.
Tom is here from Planning for Burial. He's come all the way out to play us a little live set. Thanks so much for making it out.
No problem. I always enjoy this.
This is a little bit of a tradition for us. This is third time. We skipped last year.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back. It's good to have you back on the show. So what have you been up to? What's new?
I have the new full-length Desideratum. I think on the first show I was just like, yeah, it's never coming out. I'm never going to do it. I spent a lot of time last year, probably all of, I say a good portion of the summer from May to August or so. And then again from October through December, I finished recording it. It's coming out on Flenser Records this year. I think in May sometime. I'm not definite on that, but that album's done. I spent, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately compared to what I recorded in 2012 to what I did last year. I have another tape on Bathetic Records coming out at some point in the spring. I have a couple splits. They're not done yet, but working towards those. So I've been keeping busy with actually recording lately.
That's great. Splits with who?
One band is called Liar and Wait. They're from Chicago, Minneapolis. I think it's more like a super group kind of in a way. Just a bunch of guys made a couple things. And the third one's going to be a three-way split with Faux Grass. And I don't even know if I pronounced that right. I'm sorry, Iffy. And King Woman. They're both from California. Two female artists doing drone and are really great.
Very cool. These people you played with when you were touring in the
no, these are just friends.
Friends
that I met. King Woman also does a project called Miserable, and she sang on the last Were EP. She was the female singer on that.
Okay.
So yeah, and then if he does Faux Grass, like I said, I might be pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry, but she's just some friends from out when I went out to the West Coast.
Very cool. Awesome. Speaking of tour, you got any tour plans coming up? I know that you're playing a show tonight.
Yeah, in March I'm gonna do like I guess Southeast and Midwest, which I'll go all the way down to Georgia, come back up around through Michigan, Ohio, and all that. That's 11 days, 12-day tour, I think I planned out. That's pretty much going on. I'm going to announce all the dates formally, I guess. Give or take, depending on job situation. June, I'm going to do 2 to 3 weeks, which will be full year. And possibly Europe in March, or not March, but end of the year probably.
Europe, huh? This will be the second time you're going to Europe.
Yeah, the first time was more like I went on vacation and happened to play 3 shows with some friends while I was there on a lot of borrowed gear, like even borrowed guitars. I brought like some pedals and my drum machine. That was it.
Sure. So you're doing something a little bit more organized this time.
I think this would be actually more organized, but it's not definite. It was just like something talked to me about really briefly, but it's not definite, and I was not told not to keep my hopes up. So
all right. So speaking of your new material, when you're writing, there's definitely a certain mood to everything you write. It's definitely got a feel to it. Is this something that is comes naturally to you? Is this something that what's your inspiration for writing?
Inspiration, that's a hard question. I find myself when I'm writing, it comes from me just being in my living room or something and just kind of playing around with the guitar. If you notice through like my louder material and my quieter material, it does have the same feeling. And I've been trying to pinpoint why for my whole entire life, that's kind of like the more like, I don't know, more mellow, more down tempo even. But sometimes I think it comes from like 80s ballads I used to hear in like the dentist office and thing like that, where they sounded really warm, but at the same time they were really depressing. And I think like those kind of songs and like that kind of structure is just like stuck with me.
I definitely say that you're the first person to ever tell me that their inspiration comes from music they heard in the dentist office.
Like, you know what I'm talking about, like Tears for Fears, all that stuff. Like you're my age, so like when you're in the early or late 80s, early 90s, like they had like Magic FM or whatever on, and like there was a certain mood to it. My parents listened to that kind of stuff. It was always around, so like
Sure.
I just have a thing for like warm 80s, big, huge ballads.
Definitely. Well, it comes through. When you're writing lyrics, what's your inspiration for writing lyrics?
I would say lately it's more like I write very vaguely. Like I have songs that are just titled after dates of things that happened, and I think if people read them, they wouldn't necessarily know what's going on. But I write them vaguely enough that I know what's happened on those days, and I leave it up to people to decide what they want on things. But I feel like I take the Marcuselic route where I'm just very plainly writing at the same exact time. So just everyday things that I'm dealing with.
Do you think friends ever wonder if you're writing about them?
I think a couple friends know exactly I'm writing about them.
So when you're writing as a soloist, I can imagine that's very different than writing as part of a band.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years in bands, and the soloist aspect is to me a lot better. I think that's why I like it, because I can work at my own pace. Like the songs from the new album pretty much have been done 3 years ago, but I've been working on them a little bit here and there, like through the live setting and stuff. Whereas if you're in a band, you want to hammer those songs that get done and keep moving on to new ones. Whereas, I mean, at times though, it's not a great thing to be a soloist too, because then sometimes you want to bounce ideas off people and be like, well, all right, and what if I'm getting stuck in a rut, like I'm doing the same thing over and over? I worry about those kind of things a lot too as a solo artist.
Do you ever get sick of hearing yourself in your own music?
I think in 2012 I did. There was a while there where I just didn't enjoy playing. I have like an archive on my website where I could see set lists and everything, that because I keep track of all that stuff I play, and I could just tell like I wasn't playing sets at shows. I would just like start doing things and then just stop and be like, not feeling this. Like, I don't know. I just think a couple of years ago, I just it wasn't doing anything for me.
What changed?
I don't know. I think I started trying to get a little more serious about it again, because I realized I was like, all right, people are coming out to see me play shows, and I'm just here just fucking around and not really giving them what they've paid for. And I'll admit that there's times where, and there's times where people came up to me and were set where I felt like I just didn't give it my all, and people would really appreciate like my set, but I felt like I needed to really put everything into it all the time.
Do you feel how much of your music do you think is for you, and how much do you think is for others?
I would say 100% of my music is for myself. I've actually had this talk with people before that I got lucky with Enemies List picking up Leaving, but I put it out 4 months on my own before Enemies List even got involved in it, and I recorded it because that's what I was doing. I was making music for myself in my basement. I think 2 other friends may have heard it, so I feel like even now I would still just make music for myself if I never got to the level of somewhat internet popularity or whatever and having people come to shows. I mean, it's nice being able to play shows to people, but at the same time, I'd probably still be home recording for myself.
Do you feel like as a soloist you have a commitment to a certain style?
No. I think a lot of times people want that, but I don't feel like I am, because I do the quiet releases, I have drone releases, I have my heavier releases. I'm all over the place. Sometimes I mix it all up. I think that's the best part about being a solo artist, is I could do whatever I want.
Is there something you haven't done that you want to do?
Write a really good pop song.
What's stopping you?
Well, I just don't think I'm capable of. That's not my level. Like, I'm not talking like pop song like Britney Spears stuff, but like I'm thinking in terms like the first like True Widow record. Like, you listen to them, they're really downer songs and like really slowcore, but they are like the best pop songs ever. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like I don't think I do like hooks well, because my thing is I really like, I get on a part, I like repetition. I like just getting in the groove, and I can't ever get myself past that sometimes. And I feel like in a pop, I don't have the pop song structure.
What do you think appeals to you about the repetition? You have a lot of loop pedals here, and that's something I'd like to talk to you about as well. But you know, a lot of this is looping. A lot of this is manipulating the same sort of sounds. What speaks to you in repetition and this drone?
I think about it in like even kind of like works I like to do. Like I could sit and fold letters all day long. It's not like a job I do, but I've done this before for like a mailing list. Same thing with like running the label, doing mailings. I just love the constant movement. I think it comes through in my music too, because I just like the best. Like I thought about it too, is like I grew up listening to metalcore and stuff like that and stuff. And you would get to a part in the song and be like, that part is amazing, and then it would never play it again. It would be like a split second of the song, and I'm like, I try to like, I find the best parts and I want to play them over and over. And then again, the building thing I think comes from like my love of like 90s alternative rock, like PJ Harvey and stuff. If we really listen to that stuff, it's the same chords going through the entire song, and then it's layered different things on top of it. I think a lot of that influenced how I do things as well.
How likely are you to analyze things like this when you write them? You're doing a lot of analyzation of other songs and songs that inspire you. Do you do this? You know, do you go through the same level of analyzation of your own songs?
I don't think so. I think with like Leaving, I did a lot because I built that over 3 years. And with Desert Ray, the new album, yeah, I built the songs for that long, but I wasn't recording them. I wasn't like recording them, having one version of it, adding something, taking it apart, listening to it. It was pretty much those songs I had finished. I knew exactly what parts I want to do, and the recordings of them were really quick. And it was just about finding time to finish them. But I don't think I analyzed them enough. I think a lot of times now I've gotten to the point where like, it's done, that's it, here you guys go.
So you say you don't think you analyze them enough. Do you regret sometimes releasing things hastily?
There's always things you could change, but that's part of it. Like I purposely left on the new record. There's a couple parts where you're like, I don't know if anyone's gonna hear it, but clearly just wrong piano note. But it was spur of the moment. I was in the middle of recording, and it was like a moment, so it's there. So
the last time you played live with us here, you a lot of it was improv. We had a piano in the studio,
yeah,
and a lot of it was improv. And I remember there was a moment where you hit the wrong chord, but then you just ran with it. You made it your own.
I think that's definitely it. I don't believe in going through recordings and fixing things in the mix, as they would say. I'm a human. I make mistakes, and it comes through on the recordings. And I mean, people have seen me play live. I've turned loops off, and the song just ends. I think my recent show in Brooklyn happened during the first song. I just hit the loop on the wrong way, and it turned the whole entire song off, and that was it. It happens. Mistakes happen.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about your gear here. I've taken a couple pictures, and the pictures will be up on the blog. And this is one thing that I've always wanted to delve into a little bit more about your gear. You've got three pedal boards. You got two pedal boards here, a keyboard. You've got a drum machine. Tell me a little bit about this setup.
I guess I do analyze things a lot. This setup has pretty much been the same for the last few years. I don't have any crazy routing. It's pretty much one pedal right into the other. Towards the end of the line, I have a Bots RC3 that I use for some looping, but most of the time I just save drones on it and backing things. And I'm not talking about like backing drum beats and stuff like that. Usually like the end of the song, August 29th, 2012, there's that little like repetitious like weird thing that's saved on there.
Is that what you've got? Are there the notes taped to the front of the?
A couple notes here are I have open, because usually I open my first sets up with like an opening drone. I have the drone for August 29th. I have a few speech parts that get played in between songs that are on there. There's a lot. I have a whole notebook with everything that's filled, but these are like things that are main set up on it. before that is the Strymon El Capistan. It's a really awesome delay pedal, but I don't actually use it as a delay. I use it more because it's a great analog delay with some digital features such as like the tap tempo and everything on it. But I use it more because the analog side of it I use for a filter. So when it sounds like that really tape warbly sound is coming from the El Cap.
Very cool. How much of your live set is improvisation?
It depends. I think when I play my heavier sets, not as much anymore. I remember when I was starting to work on the songs, there was parts I would like every so it would be a little bit different. And I mean, even now, like things, it's not like dead on the same exact way every time. But I'm trying to keep like the live sets a little less improvised now because I want to play the songs from the records in a way. When I try to do quiet sets, like tonight, I only have a vague idea of what I want to do, and then I usually run with it. But there's things like when I'm playing live shows, I'll think about, I'm like, all right, I need to make a transition. And a lot of that stuff is more improvised than the actual songs themselves.
So tell me a little bit about the label. You mentioned the label earlier. The label is Music Ruins Lives.
It is ceased to begin, or it's done.
Yeah?
It like last year at this time, international shipping rates went up extremely. Mm-hmm. The customs process for doing stuff, it just got really hard for me to keep up with that because I was taking all the international orders, only like 3 or 4 at a time, like once a week, and then I would get really backed up. People would start emailing, hey, where's my orders? I just finished, like today is February 9th, and I just got the last of the Leaving box sets out, even though most of the US people have had them for a month already now. It's because it takes so long to do it, and it was eating up my life. And I think in 2012, again, when I was talking about how I wasn't really recording much, I was spending a lot of time with the label that year, and I feel like I wasn't working on my music as much. I'm not saying it's done right now. I'm not, but I might do something with it later on. It's always there, but right now, and back burner.
So now that you have more time, you're focusing a lot more on your music and not doing any releases. I mean, do you miss being able to do it? Why did you start the label in the first place?
Well, we started the label in order to get some things out for myself and a couple friends. And then we really liked what we were getting back from it. A lot of people seemed to enjoy the releases we were doing. And we enjoyed searching out new bands. Then we hit a snap there for a little bit where a couple people we were working with were less than great as people. So that also started slowing us down a little bit too. But I think the biggest thing was the way the actual mail system has become for us is what really put it slow down. Because I still love finding new music and releasing things for people. I want to help people.
Mm-hmm. You considered like a digital distribution as a substitute?
I mean, yes, I do that with all my out-of-print stuff and the out-of-print stuff from the label. But at that point, I don't think you really need a label for that. I mean, things like Bandcamp and all that. You should be able to put it up yourself, and maybe if you put it my way, I will always link to things that I really enjoy, but I don't think you really need a label per se for a digital standpoint on that. Mm-hmm. But for my own stuff, yes, I will put digital up because I want people to still hear things that were out of print and everything.
Sure, absolutely. So what have you been hearing lately that you've been really enjoying?
This is not like a local artist or a small artist, but I've been really into the new Sun Kill Moon album.
Okay.
I know it comes out next week, but pirating and all that. I will buy it when it comes out in my record store. But
pirating, what's that?
Yeah. Mark Koselleck has always done it for me, and these last couple records he's done at Sun Kill Moon have really been getting to me. A lot of Tim Hecker, his last one. I'm trying to think, the new Have a Nice Life I've been listening to a ton of. I'm constantly changing because I update my iPod almost every day when I go to work, so I have something new to listen to. I spent a lot of time last year going through older stuff as well. Yeah. Like spending more time with my actual music collection that I've had. Big album. I never actually put up a year-end list last year, but my favorite album last year was Country Sleep by the band Nightbeds.
Okay.
I just found out about them through a random tweet when they played at South by Southwest. Saw the CD on the shelf at the record store and just bought it because of it. Never heard anything, and I can't stop listening to it. It's kind of like a Americana in a way, but kind of like, again, depressing and stuff. But the melodies and everything he does, I find myself humming them all the time.
Very cool.
So when I talk about pop songs before, I also think in terms of that kind of stuff too. It's like just great songs.
Well, very cool. As always, thanks so much for coming out.
No problem. This is great.
Is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, I think I got everything out pretty much.
All right.
All right, cool.
Well, thanks so much, man.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you soon.